We are looking at a FEMA emergency supplemental, and there is no doubt that this country has sustained a series of disasters that will require federal support and funding. We've seen those in Alabama, my home state, where we had the worst series of tornadoes in history, and some of the most powerful that completely demolished two-story brick homes, nothing but foundations left, and lives were lost to an extraordinary degree, and people were injured. We've had floods, and we've got fires around the country and droughts. So we have some of that every year, and some of this is unusual, and it's incumbent upon us in Congress to wrestle with that. But I will just point this out, that President Obama's funding request for this supplemental that we've seen was for $500 million in 2011, 4.6 billion for next year, totaling $5.1 billion. That's what the President proposed, but the Democratic Senate proposal that Senator Reid has moved forward here has $804 million in 2011, $6.1 billion in 2012 for $6.9 billion. Well, that's about almost $2 billion difference. Well, you know, they say that's not much money. Just $2 billion. We spend a lot more money than that around here on all kinds of things, and we shouldn't worry about it, Sessions. You're just slowing down the emergency bill. It's got to go through right now. I suggest that if this kind of rapid spending, emotional, political movement of money through this body is why this country has gotten in this financial trouble. We just increased the price tag for a bill, $2 billion, and rush it through and attack anybody who has the gumption to stand up like Senator Tom Coburn and raise some real questions about it. How much of this can we pay for? Can we pay for it all? We probably could and probably should. Or pay for part of it so it's not borrowed. You see, emergency in general is debt. When you declare something an emergency, you're adding to the debt. It means that it's not under the budget. You have a budget limit, and you try to, all the spending's supposed to be under your budgetary limit, although we hadn't had a budget here in 2 years. But when you do a supplemental, it doesn't count that way. I remember I was talking to a senior congressman about an emergency bill years ago, and he said, well, about a bill. It really wasn't an emergency. And he said, well, Jeff, we need to put it on the emergency supplemental. I said, why? He says it doesn't count against the deficit. And I said, why? He said, I don't know. It just doesn't count. What he meant was, I now know, that it's not part of the budgetary numbers. It's on top of it. It adds to the debt in general. So we've got to be careful about that, and we are borrowing now 40 cents of every dollar we spend. That's not a misprint. I'm not speaking erroneously. 40 cents of every dollar that's spent this year is borrowed. So I say responsible senatorial management requires us to examine the legislation. And when we have a bill that's about 40% more than the president asked for, maybe that ought to throw up a red flag around here.